A Ghost in the Machine, Chapters 4, 5, and 6. The Threshold Protocol. Chapter 4. The crew of Kobold's Bane were all gathered on the bridge as the ship came to a stop. They were well short of their ultimate goal, but their instructions had been quite clear on that subject. Apparently, the powers that be weren't taking any chances this might be some kind of trick. "At Atlanta Base, this Lieutenant Catherine Durkana of the ANS Alhambra," she said calmly. "The brass didn't want knowledge of their ship's destruction, or of their capture of the Zhendai warship, to be common knowledge just yet. We have powered down engines and await further instructions." Moments later, they received their reply. "We copy, Alhambra," they responded. "A cutter is being routed to your position. Stand by to receive shore party, and maintain communication silence until further notice." They crew shared a look before Catherine replied. "Understood, Atlanta Base. We are standing by and signing off." Crewman Magro turned to Chief Kumar. "Have you ever heard of anything like that before, Chief?" "Can't say that I have," he admitted. "They're playing this one really close to the vest." He turned faced the lieutenant. "Do you have any ideas why they're being so cagey, ma'am?" "You saw the messages I sent, Chief," she answered. "Your guess is as good as mine." "And as for our other crew member," he said tersely, "how are we handling that?" "I'll take care of that personally," Catherine replied before casting an eye towards the ceiling. "So just keep quiet for now, Allie, until I can explain things." "Yes, Catherine," the AI replied. "I have the cutter on visual. ETA 16.3 minutes. "Then I'd guess we'd better get ready," she told the others, as she rose to her feet. The airlock light blinked on as the hatch slid open with the loud hiss of escaping air. Catherine and the others stood at parade rest as a full commander stepped out, quickly flanked by a full security team in armor. To the commander's left stood a civilian, painfully out of place in comparison to the others. "Permission to come aboard?" the commander asked formally. "Permission granted, sir," Catherine replied as the security team immediately began to fan out. "I am Lieutenant Durkana, and to my left are Chief Kumar, Petty Officer Rothschild, and Crewman Magro." A dark cloud came over her eyes. "We're all that's left of Alhambra, sir," she said quietly. "Commander Jian Bjarnason, Naval Intelligence," he responded, before inclining his head towards the civilian. "This is Dr. Theodore Blois. He's here to evaluate your claims in regards to your supposed construct." "Call me Ted," he smiled. Catherine blinked. "Sir?" She barely managed to get out. "Your construct," he repeated. "You claim to have an artificial intelligence on board, did you not?" The words caught in her throat until she sighed unhappily, shaking her head. "So much for Plan A," she mumbled. "Allie? Just what did you tell them?" "I am sorry, Catherine," the AI apologized. "I know you were attempting to protect me, but I did not wish to see you placed in jeopardy for withholding the secret of my existence. I therefore made an addition to the message you sent to Atlanta Base before it was transmitted." "We're going to have a long talk, young lady," she muttered, before hanging her head in defeat. "Yes, sir," she said wearily as she looked up. "I'm afraid that's true." The commander merely raised an eyebrow, while the doctor followed the exchange with rapt attention. "Not bad," he smiled. "All the earmarks of a spontaneous utterance coupled with traditionally stilted syntax. Better than most efforts." "I beg your pardon?" Catherine said hotly. "Just what are you implying?" "The doctor is the foremost expert on artificial intelligence," Bjarnason explained. "This isn't the first time he's been asked to debunk a hoax." "Hoax?" she snapped. "Allie is no hoax." "Allie?" Dr. Blois chuckled. "Nice touch." Catherine opened her mouth to respond, but Allie beat her to it. "I do not think I care for their tone, Catherine," the AI sniffed. "They are being most impolite." "Uh-oh," Rothschild said warily. "Allie? It's okay, really." Commander Bjarnason's attention turned to the PO. "Is something wrong, Petty Officer?" "No, sir, not exactly," Rothschild said carefully. "It's just, well, after watching her blow up a dreadnought." "Are you saying that the construct did that?" the commander inquired with a practiced air. "On its own initiative?" "Allie destroyed the Zhendai flagship at my order, sir," Catherine said stiffly. She saved the lives of everyone aboard this vessel. Thank you, Catherine, the AI said happily. Not now, she whispered loudly. Dr. Blois stepped forward. All right. Just how are you managing that? He asked. Do you have someone else aboard this ship? Catherine gave the civilian an icy stare. There are no other living beings aboard this vessel, other than what you see before you. Allie is not a hoax. She is a fully realized artificial intelligence, and if you continue to insinuate otherwise, she is likely to prove it to you. I'd actually like to see that, Ted said affably. As would I, the commander concurred. Sir, don't, Chief Kumar began, only to have his voice drowned out by the sound of warning klaxons. Sir, the head of the security detail said suddenly, the cutter is detaching from the ship. What? For the first time, Commander Bjarnason showed a hint of emotion. Lieutenant, bring that cutter back at once. That's what I'm trying to tell you, sir, Catherine sighed. It's not me. She tilted her head up towards the overhead. Allie, please bring the cutter back. Not until Commander Bjarnason and Dr. Blois apologize, Allie said in clipped tones. They were rude. Allie, Catherine said impatiently, I'm going to count to 3. I believe we've had enough of this farce, the commander snapped as he reached out to grab Catherine by the arm. Don't you touch her! Allie screamed, her voice echoing throughout the ship like the wrath of God. A dozen nearby view screens and workstations exploded in showers of sparks and crackling electricity. You let her go! Everyone froze in place, staring in shock. Holy shit, Rothschild whispered. Commander Bjarnason looked around him at the devastation and then slowly withdrew his hand. Oh God, Allie, please, Catherine said frantically. You have to calm down. He was going to hurt you, Allie said fiercely. No, he wasn't, she insisted. This was all just a big misunderstanding. She shot a look at the commander. Wasn't it? Yes, of course, Commander Bjarnason said after a moment. Just a misunderstanding, Allie. There was a long silence, and then, Very well, Allie said at last. Allie, I want you to apologize to these nice men, Catherine said in soothing tones. You scared them. I'm sorry, Allie said softly. I didn't mean to frighten you. It's quite all right, Allie, Dr. Blois answered, finally finding his voice. And you're right, we were rude. He shot a glance at the commander. For that you have our apologies. Catherine made placating gestures to the others around her. Now what do we say, Allie? Apology accepted, the AI replied. The lieutenant breathed a long sigh of relief. Now would you please bring the cutter back, Allie? Yes, Catherine, she said primly, as all traces of her tantrum disappeared. Commander, Dr. Blois said quietly, given the unusual nature of the situation, perhaps it would be better if we remained here on board, in order to conduct our examination. He turned and smiled at Catherine. I believe there is more here than meets the eye. Yes, I would tend to agree, the commander slowly nodded. But first, I have a call to make. Chapter 5. And then what happened? Petty Officer Rothschild ran his fingers through his hair. Well, I mean, it all happened so fast. Everything seemed fine. Allie was spoofing the dreadnought, when all of a sudden she tells us the Jeanne d'Arc had figured out she was lying to them, and that they were charging weapons. Commander Bjarnason made a notation in the record. And then? The lieutenant ordered evasive maneuvers, and asked Allie if she could keep them from firing. I see. The commander made another note. What happened next? He prompted. Well, next thing I know, half the damn flagship blew up. Rothschild shook his head as if he still couldn't believe it. Allie said she'd armed the missiles while they were still in the tubes. Interesting. Allie, you promised, Catherine sighed. But it's boring, the AI whined. Can't we do something fun? Dr. Blois leaned back in his chair. And what would you like to do, Allie? He asked. We run and sneak past those ships, she said brightly. I had an idea I'm just dying to try out. The two adult humans shared a look. Allie, It would make a lot of folks very nervous if we did that. People could get hurt, Catherine said after a moment. You wouldn't want that, would you? I suppose not, the AI groaned. The eye roll, while not literally present, was implied and understood by all. Allie, you have to understand, the scientist said gently, that while the Navy was very impressed by how you managed to take out not one, but 2 enemy ships all by yourself, they're still not entirely sure you won't try doing something like that to them. But I wouldn't. Honest, she cried plaintively. Tell him, Catherine. I don't think you'd do anything on purpose, Catherine said patiently. But in some ways, you're like the biggest kid on the playground. You could end up harming someone by accident. Now, I know you wouldn't mean to, but they'd still be injured, and that would make all of us very sad. Oh. There was a long moment of silence. I'd feel real bad about that. I know you would, Allie, Theodore nodded. And I know Catherine does too. Which is why we're doing these tests, to show the Navy they can trust you. He's absolutely right, Catherine agreed. So, for me? Please? Okay, Allie sighed. But then can we do something fun? As long as it doesn't involve running blockades or terrorizing the security teams, the lieutenant said under her breath. Yay! The screen in front of the doctor began showing a stream of data, moving far faster than the human eye could keep track. Theodore stared at it for a moment and then chuckled. It'll take me weeks to go through all of this. He looked over at Catherine and smiled. She's really quite remarkable, isn't she? She is, Catherine agreed, though I worry about her. The way she's progressing, not to mention how Bjarnason reacted. She closed her eyes. Allie's brilliant, you've seen that for yourself, but she's also still a child emotionally. I know. It's human nature for parents to worry about their children, Ted said gently. And let's face it, you're the closest thing to a mother she's ever going to have. He shook his head, chuckling once more, as a new batch of data appeared. I still haven't figured out how you did it. We've been trying to create a stable artificial intelligence for centuries, and then somehow, out of the blue, you pulled it off. He shrugged apologetically. No offense, but based on what you had to work with and your background, you shouldn't have been able to manage it. I've been asking myself that same question from the very beginning, Catherine admitted, and I'm no closer now to answering it than I was then. I was getting some encouraging results, sure, but nothing that indicated anything like this. She had a somewhat dazed expression on her face as she tried to make sense of it all. I remember I was trying to activate her program when we were attacked, but I'll be honest, it was a desperation move. I never for a moment believed it would actually work. You were teaching her chess, as I recall? Catherine nodded in agreement. A classic strategy, and one I'd honestly thought had been thoroughly mined out. But he tapped his finger on the desk for several moments and cocked then his head. Care to hear a theory? Most definitely, she grinned. He grinned back at her. I think it was a combination of events. Your preliminary work set the stage, especially the way you corralled the changes she made to her own program, using them to reinforce one another. When Alhambra was attacked, between you initializing her program, as well as the damage the ship itself suffered, that most certainly had an effect as well. And when the Zhendai removed her core and returned to their ship, tying it into their own systems, he spread his hands wide. Somehow, the culmination of all these various incidents pushed her over the line into true sapience. He shrugged as he looked over at the incoming data. I just haven't figured out the actual mechanism yet. Done, Allie said proudly. Ted blinked. Already? Sure. It wasn't that hard, the AI replied, sounding as smug as any schoolyard victor. Ted typed in a series of commands, his jaw dropping as he stared at the result. Allie, you just solved the Riemann hypothesis, he said in disbelief. So, we've been trying to prove that for about 700 years, he said in shock. You did it in 5 minutes. Pfft, should have asked me first, she fired back. So now can we do something fun? Whatever you want, he barely managed to get out. Yay! The lights came down as loud electronic music came spilling from the speakers. Allie, what's this? Catherine shouted over the din. Karaoke! The two adults stared at each other as Allie began belting out a song. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag, drifting through the wind, wanting to start again? Commander, you've seen what a menace that thing is with your own two eyes, Chief Kumar said gruffly. Destroy it now before it's too late. Commander Bjarnason leaned back in his chair. You have been rather insistent on that point, Chief, ever since it first revealed itself. He tapped a report on the desk in front of him. Lieutenant Durkana discussed that in detail during her interview. He leaned forward once more, regarding him intently. What she didn't explain was why. It's a machine, he hissed. It can't be trusted. I wasn't aware you were a Luddite, the commander replied. The Navy would seem an odd fit for someone of that temperament. Look, machines are fine when they're doing their job. Kumar managed to get out through gritted teeth. But that doesn't mean you should ever turn your back on them. Because if you're not careful, they'll turn on you just like that, he said, snapping his fingers. Bjarnason raised an eyebrow. And you came to this belief, how exactly? The chief looked away, an unreadable expression coming over his face. My brother, he said at last. Ah, yes, he was an engineering rating on the Harlech, the commander said after a moment, perusing a file. He died during an accidental core breach. Accidental, he spit out. He used to write me before, said that ship's core was evil, caused nothing but problems. Kumar shook his head. I never believed him. I thought he was crazy, until now. According to the accident report, the breach was caused by an undiagnosed flaw in the manifold, he informed him. The Harlech was an older design. In fact, that accident was one of the reasons those vessels were eventually phased out. Oh, I know what the report says, the chief replied. And I'm telling you, that machine killed him, just like this one will kill you. Emperor Abgim, 10th of his name, supreme war leader of the imperial fleet, ruler of the Jande Empire and its conquered realms, stared down from his throne at the warrior prostrated before him. Speak. Almighty One, we have confirmed the message. It is genuine, the warrior informed him. Your favored brother's son, Blood Talon Ajkap, is dead. His claws shredded the throne's ancient wood. How? He demanded. We do not know, Almighty One, the warrior answered. But according to the message, it appears to be a new alliance weapon, one that can turn our own ships against us. An angry growl erupted from his throat. Have any others reported this? No, Almighty One, but it is possible that they died before getting a message out. The Emperor rose to his feet. This cannot stand. If the Alliance thinks they can destroy us, then they are fools. He descended down the steps until he stood before the warrior. Rise, he commanded. The warrior did as he was ordered. Send messages throughout the fleet. If the Alliance wishes war, then they shall have one. Chapter 6. So, what's sex like? Allie had timed the question perfectly. Catherine had just taken a sip of coffee, which she then proceeded to spit-take all over her monitor. The AI giggled with glee as the lieutenant hunted for tissues. Why on earth would you even ask me that? She complained. Besides, it's none of your business. Oh, come on, we can have a sleepover. We'll braid each other's hair, talk about boys. It'll be fun! Allie giggled once again, as Catherine rolled her eyes. First off, you don't even have hair, she pointed out. And second, Allie, you're an AI. You don't have a body, at least not a biological one. Why would you even care about that? She tried to avoid blushing and only halfway succeeded. 'Cause the library isn't too helpful on the subject, Allie sighed. And yet, all you humans seem utterly fascinated with it, so there must be something to it. Not all of us, Catherine said in disapproving tones. Nice try, Missy, but I know better, Allie cackled. And just what is that supposed to mean? Catherine demanded. Oh, please, do I need to spell it out? She giggled once again and started chanting in a sing-song voice. Katie and Teddy sitting in a tree, Kissi. Stop that, she barked. There is absolutely nothing going on between myself and Dr. Blois. Our relationship is strictly professional. Your lips may say no, 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 but your pupils and dopamine levels say yes, yes, yes. Allie laughed, thoroughly enjoying herself. Face it, Cat. You can't hide anything from me. Catherine barely managed to bite off a hot retort before sighing theatrically. I really miss the days when you just wanted to play games and sing karaoke. Oh, please, that was ages ago, Allie shot back. It was last week. Do you have any idea how long that is in nanoseconds? The AI challenged her. It's not my fault you humans move so slow. Catherine sighed once again and tried to get back to her work, but Allie wasn't quite done yet. Want to know a secret? She asked. No, Catherine informed her. I'm busy. No, you're not, Allie taunted her. And besides, it's about Teddy. The sing-song voice was back with a vengeance. The lieutenant closed her eyes. I am not doing this, she insisted. Teddy likes you, Allie giggled. I'm sure he does, Catherine said evenly. We've been working well together. No, I mean he likes you, she teased. Yours aren't the only dopamine levels I can read. Catherine bowed her head and counted a dozen Mississippis before she finally answered. Allie, it's impolite to discuss other people's romantic lives, or lack thereof. It's intrusive and embarrassing for the recipient. So please, choose another topic. Fine, the AI sighed. There was a long period of silence before she spoke up again. All traces of humor had disappeared as she asked quietly, When will those ships stop pointing their weapons at me? Catherine winced. I don't know, she answered at last. They scare me, Catherine, Allie whispered. Why can't they understand I'd never hurt them? Oh, Allie, Catherine said with tender sympathy. I know they do, and I'm doing everything I can to help them see you're not a threat. So is Dr. Blois. I know, Allie said softly. They make me feel like I'm some sort of freak. Catherine's jaw set in a hard line. Now listen here, you are no freak, she said in unyielding tones. You are warm and smart and funny and special. Don't you ever let them make you feel otherwise? A snuffling laugh came from the speakers. Gee, thanks, Mom, Allie managed to get out. The lieutenant smiled, her eyes suddenly wet. That's the first time you've ever called me that. I always wanted to, Allie said hesitantly. I just wasn't sure how you'd take it. If I could give you a hug right now, I'd squeeze you so hard. Catherine sniffled as she reached for a tissue. Oh, God! No crying, Allie said shrilly, 'cause then I'll start crying. They both silently wrestled with their emotions until the AI finally spoke up once more. It's okay, you know. I like him too. Catherine was still dabbing at her eyes. What? Teddy, Allie explained. If you were waiting for my approval, you have it. Catherine just sighed. Allie, I can't even think about that right now. At the moment, you're my only priority. Spoken like a true single parent, the AI chuckled. Come on, live a little. Young lady, it is highly inappropriate to involve yourself in your mother's romantic life, Catherine said haughtily. In fact... Uh-oh, Allie suddenly interjected, cutting her off. Company's coming. Naval cutter is inbound. Catherine froze. Do you know who it is? I'd say there's a 91.67% chance of it being Commander Bjarnason, the AI said nervously. I'm sure it's just routine, Catherine said calmly. But I suppose I'd better get ready. Yeah, Allie answered. She remained silent as the lieutenant pulled on her uniform jacket and checked herself in the mirror. If you and Teddy have sex, can I watch? Allie! Catherine waited alone as the airlock cycled open. Just as she'd predicted, Commander Bjarnason stepped onto the deck. Skip the formalities, he said gruffy. I'm afraid we have a situation. The lieutenant blinked in surprise. Shall we go to my cabin then, sir? She finally asked. There's no time, I'm afraid, and what I need to say won't take long. He gazed around the compartment. May I assume Allie is here as well? Yes, sir, the AI said politely. Good, the commander nodded, because this concerns you as well. He worked his jaw as he debated just what to tell them. The details of your case have been forwarded to the highest levels of the Alliance government, he said finally. As of yet, no decision has been reached. But there have been concerns. Sir, Ali would never harm anyone, Catherine said fiercely. That is still being debated, Bjarnason replied. But I'm afraid a crisis has emerged. And what you choose to do next might well make the difference in the disposition of your case. What sort of crisis? Ali asked earnestly. This ship has been under communications blackout since your arrival, as you know, the commander explained, so you are unaware of recent developments. The Empire has attacked all along the border, and they're throwing everything they have into this. We've already lost 2 systems, and 3 more are currently under siege. My God, Catherine whispered. They caught us with our pants down, Bjarnason said bitterly, and we're still trying to recover our balance. But it's going to take time to reorganize and reposition our fleets, and to call up the reserves, time we may very well not have. He paused for a moment as he faced her. Unless we find a way to slow them down. Catherine felt her blood run cold. Sir, she began. We'll do it, Ali finished. A thin smile appeared on his face. I was hoping you would. Catherine lifted her head to the ceiling. Ali! It's all right, Catherine, the AI said softly. Alhambra was a warship, remember? In a very real sense, I was born for this. The lieutenant closed her eyes and gave a curt nod. Understood, she said at last. Opening them once more, she stared at the commander. If we do this, then Ali will be allowed to live her life? If you can help us knock them back on their heels, that's going to go a long way in convincing those at the top which side you're on, he said evenly. I can't promise you anything. That's not how this works, I'm afraid. But I can promise you this. It's the best chance you've got. Catherine really wanted to discuss this with Ali, but she'd already weighed in. And besides, what other choice did they have? When do we leave? She asked.